Convergence 2023 is just around the corner, folks. We're working nearly around the clock to make sure that your meeting this year is the best experience yet. Come to San Diego, California to enjoy the unveiling of cutting-edge science in our field with friends and colleagues. Join us from November 10th to the 15th. Registration is now open at rheumatology.org.
Welcome to ACR On Air, the official podcast of the American College of Rheumatology, where we have engaging conversations with leading rheumatology professionals on topics such as the latest research on rheumatic diseases, solutions for addressing practice management issues, legislative policies impacting patient care, and more. Here's your host.
Welcome back to another episode of ACR On Air, the official podcast of the American College of Rheumatology. I am your host, Dr. John Hausman. Show notes for this episode can be found at acronair.org. You can also find our previous episodes on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on your favorite podcast app. Making a career in rheumatology is not easy. Often, we're asked to see increasing number of patients, apply for grants, write original research papers, teach the next generation of rheumatologists, advocate for our patients, and a lot more. Fortunately, the Rheumatology Research Foundation is here to make some of that a little easier. As the largest funder of rheumatology research, the RRF have grants that span the life of a rheumatologist. Those grants start in medical school by getting medical students to become interested in rheumatology. They fund rheumatology fellowship programs, support early career investigators, medical educators, community rheumatologists, and more. Today, we'll discuss many of those opportunities, and we'll focus on how you can submit a successful application to the RRF to fund your next project. We've invited Dr. Ted Michaels, the chair of the Scientific Advisory Council of the RRF, as well as Aaron Marchiolo, the VP of Mission at the Foundation. Dr. Michaels is the Stokes Shackelford Professor of Rheumatology at the University of Nebraska in Omaha, where he also serves as a staff physician and researcher for the VA Nebraska Western Iowa healthcare system. Dr. Michaels is an epidemiologist and rheumatologist and has research interests on disease epidemiology, pathogenesis, and outcomes in rheumatoid arthritis and gout. Pertinent for our discussions today, Dr. Michaels has written numerous grants and receives active research support from the NIH, the VA, the U.S. Department of Defense, and industry. Aaron Marchiolo has worked for the foundation for 10 years and currently serves as its Vice President of Mission. She provides leadership and oversight of foundation programming, focused on the mission priorities of increasing patient access to care and accelerating scientific discoveries. She oversees the Foundation's awards program and serves as the staff liaison to the Scientific Advisory Council and board. Enjoy the show. Aaron and Ted, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
So, Aaron, tell me a little bit about the Rheumatology Research Foundation. What's the mission? What are you guys trying to do?
Sure. The mission of the Rheumatology Research Foundation is to advance research and training to improve the health of patients living with rheumatic disease. And we really have two mission priorities that fit under that scope. So we really work to increase patient access to care, and we do that through workforce expansion programs. And then we also really want to accelerate scientific discoveries, which we do through all of our research programs.
Got it. So, and we'll address, some of the specific grants that you guys have a little bit later on the show. Ted, I wanted to ask you, Why is there a need for the Rheumatology Research Foundation? I mean, isn't the NIH enough to fund rheumatology research?
Yeah, I mean, the NIH is obviously integral to advancing research in rheumatic disease. There's no question about it. The NIH has a big mission, though. They have a big mission that spans lots of conditions well beyond the rheumatology clinic. And so, from a research perspective, the foundation's really been key to supporting really groundbreaking research in rheumatology for the last few decades. We are the largest private funder of research in the United States. So that puts us basically right behind the NIH in terms of research funding for rheumatic
Of
disease.
research in general?
In rheumatology research.
Oh, in rheumatology, yeah.
Rheumatology research, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I would just add to that too, we're not just about research. We're about, as Aaron mentioned up front, we're about training and recruiting people into our field, our exciting field. And, the NIH has a lot of fish to fry, and those are some fish that they can't fry. So we really have taken that on.
Fantastic. And I always wondered, what's the relationship between the American College of Rheumatology and the Rheumatology Research Foundation?
So the foundation was established by the ACR in 1985. So we are the foundation of the ACR, and they are one of our largest investors. I would say the role of the ACR is really to provide all the resources that rheumatologists and rheumatology health professionals need to do their day-to-day job. And then the foundation is really the funder that comes behind and again funds our kind of mission priorities for academic investigators and then private practitioners within the field.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit about some of those funding priorities. So, Ted, you mentioned training and trying to get people interested in rheumatology. How does the foundation do that?
A lot of different ways, actually. There are preceptorships that we support trainees. We bring trainees to the annual meeting. We have a Choose Rheumatology program where we bring medical students and residents and engage them with rheumatologists kind of across the spectrum. They learn about the many opportunities of rheumatology and just how exciting rheumatology can be and the difference they can make in patient lives. And it's so we really try to get to trainees early as they're starting to consider different opportunities for their career. And then we have, I think, very strategically built-in programs and support that hits people sort of along the way in growth, early career folks, which is can be a really challenging time, that transition into independence as you're developing into an academic rheumatologist, increasingly having programs that support community rheumatologists. So we really try to cover the spectrum of different stakeholders.
Got it. So it seems like you're trying to increase the pipeline of rheumatologists by investing in medical students, preceptorships, so that they can get interested in rheumatology. And then once fellows become rheumatology attendings, investing in their careers so that they can be accomplished. And certainly there's also funding for later onset investigators to continue their research. Are there specific topics or areas that the Rheumatology Research Foundation is particularly interested in funding, either specific diseases or specific treatments or conditions?
The foundation used to have a very disease condition centric approach that really centered early on around rheumatoid arthritis and inflammatory arthritis. But several years ago, we made the I think, very wise decision to broaden that to all rheumatic conditions. So we really are focused on rheumatic conditions that are impacting our patients, and that's a broad spectrum, which is brings challenges, but I think that's where we want to be. So we really have broadened that. We will occasionally have focus areas, notice of special interest, for instance. So we had a special interest area in COVID during the early in the pandemic that led to really some groundbreaking research. We've had NOCs, as we call them, in telehealth delivery, which also was really ramped up during the pandemic, and those were really timely.
What's the role of patient engagement in the research that you support? Is that something that you guys look at to see who gets funded?
So we actually will include a patient impact statement in all of our applications. So we have people really consider that on the front end as they apply to the foundation, kind of thinking through how will their research ultimately impact patients, ultimately impact the mission of the foundation. So they do include that in the front end of the application and then report on that kind of throughout the duration of their project. And then I would say just patient engagement in general throughout the foundation. We've been really intentional, including patients on our board and all of our standing committees on our strategic planning team. So we really want to make sure that we have that kind of unique patient perspective represented throughout all of what we do at the foundation.
Got it. So it seems like even if I'm thinking about applying for a grant for diagnostics or ultrasound, you're looking at the ultimate goal is how is my stuff or like my study in mice going to ultimately impact patients down the road? I think that's pretty powerful stuff. Are there specific things that you're more interested or less interested? So, I'm thinking about like diagnostics, mouse studies, therapeutics, education, or do you sort of consider all those fairly equal?
Well, I think that, as I mentioned, I think there are broad interests of the review panels and broad interests of us as an organization in terms of rheumatic disease, both in terms of conditions, but also, as you're alluding to, methods and methodologies. I think we want research that's going to be game changing. That's what we're looking for. And so I think the foundation maybe is willing to take risks that maybe other funding agencies aren't. And so high risk, high reward research, has a place with the foundation. And that's exciting. I'd like to think that's where we're at.
That's great. And can you provide some examples of some of that research that has been groundbreaking or that has really changed the field of rheumatology?
Yeah, I take a shot at that. So, there's a lot of research that has come out of the foundation. Aaron and I were lucky enough to attend. Each year we have a meeting where the funded researchers from early career folks to the more established researchers come in and they present their work and progress. And it's really exciting to hear. And we had that meeting in June, and it was like the last several I've been fortunate enough to attend, really exciting to listen to. And there was research really covering basic pathology of disease all the way to the best ways to engage patients via telehealth. And I really think across that different types of research, we have researchers who are really making an impact. And there was, specifically some research looking at novel pathways leading to inflammation and joint disease, inflammatory joint disease, that I think are really groundbreaking and will have their own chapters and textbooks in the near future. So really, really exciting stuff. And I think behind all that, we're potentially our researchers are identifying targets for therapy, better ways to deliver therapies. So it's an exciting time.
Got it. And Ted, do you see the RRF sort of like a stepping stone into further funding? Is that what the hope would be for most investigators that receive a grant, is that this is sort of stepping stone for them to continue their research and funding in other methods? Or do people do this and sort of it stays there?
We hope that there's return on investment. So we don't want the research necessarily to stop with the foundation. And we have lots of programs that are, by their very nature, designed as, stepping stone always sounds very derogatory in a way, but
sorry, I didn't mean that.
But it's okay. I think it's, we want our grants, our funds to pay off. And that may be the payoff, maybe in NIH dollars or Department of Defense funding, et cetera. And we've seen that. So we have one program in particular that I love to highlight because it's so fantastic. And that's our program, our K and R Bridge programs, which are designed for early career folks. We want, by their very nature, we want those funds to be stepping stones. Our early career grants, our Scientist Development Award and our Investigator Award, that's what they're designed for. And the payoff on those, I think our bridge mechanism has had something like, just based on NIH dollars, it's like 1,000% return on investment. It's been
amazing.
Yeah, it's been enormous. So if you're an investor and you want to invest funds that are going to grow, you invest in the foundation.
Wow, that's powerful. How do you measure success? Do you measure success in that in like NIH dollars that these funds were able to generate? Do you guys have some metrics that you follow over time?
We do. So, for all of our career development awards, we look at different career outcomes. So, we look at did they pursue additional degrees while they had our awards? We look at were they promoted? Did they go on to get a K award at the NIH? Did they go on to get a larger foundation award? So, really, those kind of career development metrics, and we collect those 5 years out. We just updated all of those. So we have all of those new metrics that we updated for the year. And then in terms of our larger scientific awards, we really look at scientific output. So are people publishing in peer reviewed journals? How many presentations are they doing? We try to highlight all of their presentations at Convergence. And then, of course, as Ted just mentioned, we look at going on to leverage our awards and getting larger NIH awards. So we measure what types of NIH awards are they going on to get. We look at what institutes are they going on to get awards at, just so we can really be good stewards of all of our donor funds. We really want to make sure that we're monitoring all of those metrics.
I like the fact that it seems that you not only invest in the research, but you're investing in the researcher, right? And trying to further people's careers and help them to become what they can become in the future. And that you track that over time. That's really fantastic. Ted, how do you select which grants get funded? I'm sure you've been in the reviewing process of these grant applications, and a lot of people listening, especially after hearing this, will definitely want to apply for some of those RRF grants. How do you select who gets funded? What are the things that you're looking at?
And so we just a bit about process first. We have, I think like most funding organizations, we have peer review councils that we have put together that manages reviews, critiques, scores the different applications. What we're looking for differs a little bit across the mechanisms. So at an innovative award, which is really an award, just as an example, that is meant for all comers, we are really targeting the best science. What is the best science? What's the science that's going to make the biggest impact for our patients? And ultimately, I think there are a lot of metrics we have in different sections of the grants, but ultimately that's what it boils down to, right? It's best science. At a career development award, we're really paying attention. This circles back to your comments that you just made. That is, we're looking at, is this applicant going to be someone we want to invest in? Are they proposing good science? And they almost always are. And so it comes down to the environment they're in. Do they have the right mentors in place for the career development awards, et cetera? So it varies award to award, but really it comes down to the people, the environment, the science that's being proposed.
Got it. Are there any sort of recommendations for people to actually get some of these awards? I've applied. It took me a couple times. I eventually got an RRF award. Are there any suggestions that you have for people applying to sort of improve their chances of getting funded by their RRF?
Yeah, I can start off, then Aaron can give the better answer. So, I guess I'd say one piece of advice would not to be shy. And what I mean by that is reach out to the foundation staff, Aaron included, and the many people that she works with at the foundation are fantastic and very, very accessible with questions, et cetera. Again, it does come down, as I mentioned, so for innovative research awards, really the best science, and how do you do that? And so that's a lot of times team science is more and more important, and we're certainly seeing that in our grant applications. We have, for the career development folks, having the right mentoring, having the right training in place, being in the right environment, thinking creatively, perhaps when you're in an environment that maybe isn't as strong. So those are my pieces of advice. We have calls before deadlines, open calls where potential investigators can join those, and we have Q&As. And I would say to make sure you hit those, because those can be really informative as you're starting to think about an application.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people about the benefits of speaking with the foundation before you apply and trying to make sure you have, the ducks in a row and that you're applying to the right grants and that, you are writing it and composing your application in the way that the Rheumatology Research Foundation wants it to be. Other thoughts, Aaron, that you think may help people's chances of getting funded?
No, I would definitely echo all of those comments about reaching out to staff. I think Damien and Sarah and Amber are always willing to hop on the phone and kind of walk people through which award is right for them and kind of walk people through all their questions. And then the only other comment that I would add is just general grantsmanship. So going through at the end and just making sure things are spelled right, just making sure things are nice and neat. Those are some things that are pointed out sometimes in peer review as well. So I would just say, just going through at the end and looking for general grantsmanship issues and kind of cleaning up at the end.
Fantastic. And what we can do in our website is certainly have a link to the Rheumatology Research Foundation so that for those of you listening, you can go to our website and access the Rheumatology Research Foundation to learn more about these opportunities. Has there been any changes in the types of projects that you're funding or the grants over the last couple of years that potential investigators should be aware of?
I will try to tackle this. So, this is a great question because it comes on the heels of a portfolio review. So, every 5 years, the foundation puts itself through a rigorous process of portfolio review. What does our portfolio look like? What audience are we missing? What additional pieces do we need of our puzzle? And we just went through that, and we're in the process now of implementing many, many changes, both with established awards, but that also led to some new awards. For instance, one new award, we talked about training earlier and recruitment, and we're trying to reach people even earlier, and we've created some awards that target baccalaureate postgrads, really to get to people, even before their graduate school training period. So that's just one example of many. So we've had a lot of new awards, lots more investment going on by the foundation. Again, trying to really reach out in different areas. I think one area we've really grown in has been in our efforts to support the community rheumatologist with a community innovation award that allows community rheumatologists really to strike out and examine programs in a community-based rheumatology setting. We also have support for nurse practitioners, APRNs, to give them training. We're really trying to improve patient access, and that's really, I think, been key. And the sustainability of those individuals and their practices has been big. So lots of growth recently. And I would say we've had some changes also to policies around eligibility for awards, et cetera. So I would really ask people, instead of detailing that, have people go to our website and look at it because there have been a lot of changes.
Great. Aaron, other thoughts, other changes that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I would say just a few others that people have been really excited about that have been implemented now. And then, of course, this year the portfolio review panel brought about 30 recommendations to the board,
Wow.
which was a lot. So we will be rolling those recommendations out over the next few years. Just a few that were implemented this year. We did change some of our due dates for our award cycles. So again, would encourage people to go to the website to make sure that they are aware of those changes. One big one that people are really excited about, we expanded eligibility to include international medical graduates for some of our larger awards. They were eligible for some of our earlier career awards previously, but now we've opened up the Investigator Award and the Innovative Research Award. So that's been a big, exciting change. And then just one other to mention is our Fellowship Training Award was previously just 1 year of support, and now we've extended that to multi-year funding. So it will support the fellow for the full duration. So 2 years for adults and 3 years for pediatrics. So we just accepted applications for those, and we'll be sending notifications out shortly. So we're really excited about all of those changes. I think they're all really positive, and I hope the rheumatology community is really excited about all of them.
That's fantastic. I wonder if there were discussions about diversity, equity, and inclusion I know that in the past, research hasn't involved very diverse populations. And I wonder how the foundation sort of is thinking about tackling some of those issues.
Sure. So we have some programs on the recruitment side that is looking at recruitment through the DEI lens. So we have a scholarship for convergence that's targeted at individuals underrepresented in medicine. So we just got applications in for that this week, and we're excited to be going through those. We've also partnered with the ACR's Collaborative Initiatives Department on a project called Project Lead, where we're partnering with medical schools across the country and doing mentorship roundtables with selected students. So we have our first cohort of 14 students that have participated this year. And the goal is that we will recruit them in through the mentorship roundtables and then kind of bring them up through the pipeline of foundation awards. So all of those individuals hopefully will attend annual meeting this year through our Convergent Scholarship. Some of them already have preceptorships. So we have that project going. And then I think we're also kind of exploring potential areas of focus for the future, either looking at health disparities, health equity. So all that's up for discussion around the board table of whether, those are areas we want to have a specialized focus on. We're certainly funding those under the umbrella of our broad program, but we're excited to potentially explore those topics a little bit more.
Got it. So it sounds like the ACR is investing in trying to increase the pool of diverse rheumatologists through some of those initiatives, and then at the same time funding research that deals with health equity and those issues. That's great. Erin, question for you. You mentioned funding. Who funds the foundation?
Sure. So we have a broad group of donors that we are very grateful for. So we are funded by a group of corporate donors that make up our corporate roundtable. We also have a large pool of donations coming from the rheumatology community. So that is both our donation from the ACR, but also we are heavily supported by the ACR and ARP membership community. Definitely want to give a shout out. We have 100% participation in donations by the ACR staff, which I think is really exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then we have small foundations, family foundations that support us, grateful patients, individual giving. So definitely a diverse pool of donors, but just can't stress enough that all the things that Ted and I talked about today, we can't accomplish any of them without our donors. So we are just extremely grateful for the support and can't do anything without them. So just profusely thank them for their support.
Can you talk a little bit more about how much money you guys have raised and how much money you guys give out on a yearly basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So to date, we have committed over $218 million to
Oh,
the
wow.
rheumatology community. And again, as Ted said, we are the largest private funder of rheumatology research and training in the US. We've supported about 4,400 individual awards since our inception. We started giving out awards in 1991. And then just this year, our fiscal year started July 1st, and we're giving out over 13 million just this year in awards.
Wow.
So yeah, we're really excited to be doing what we're doing. And I've been here 10 years, and just watching the portfolio grow year over year has been really exciting. So excited to keep watching that trend grow.
That's amazing. And it sounds like it's been great for everybody because patients are sort of seeing the outcomes of this research. You guys have been able to make people's careers and fund the research that has improved the care of patients. That's fantastic. How do people get involved with the RRF? What opportunities are there both for physicians, for patients, for people interested in the community?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of different opportunities. I do just want to comment on one thing that you just said about patient impact. And I do just briefly want to mention that the foundation right now is working on a new part of our website that's going to be called the Rheumatology Lab. And in the lab, it's going to be geared towards patients and physicians. And part of that is really going to be breaking down all of the research that we do into lay language. We can really be showing the impact of all the projects that we're funding to the patient community, really highlighting all of our investigators and the projects that we're doing. Also, in that area of the website, we're going to highlight what we call our room champions, which are social media champions, which is one way that patients can get involved with the foundation. And we'll have contact information there where if someone wants to get involved that way, that they can reach out to the foundation to become a room champion. But as I mentioned earlier, we also include patients on all of our standing committees. We have patient representatives on our board, and we have a section of our website where it says get involved. So there's more information there. But all of that happens for standing committees through the nominations process every year. That happens once a year. We kind of do our all call starting in February, and then those nominations are due in June. So that's the big time where we're gathering names of people that want to participate in that way. But we definitely encourage patients to get involved. We would love to have more patients be involved. And again, our website is www.rheumresearch.org. And then definitely if Ted has any other comments that I missed that he wants to add.
No, I would just say there's lots of opportunities. I think there's more opportunities than people expect and anticipate. We can't do it without patient input, and we can't do it without donors. And so the more engagement we can get, the more we can learn from others, the better off we will be.
Great. So if I'm a physician and I'm interested in certainly applying for grants, we'll do the website. How about if I want to be one of the reviewers? Is there a process to get involved in that way, Ted?
We have people who will ask us that. We generally try to tailor those study sections I mentioned earlier, the peer review sections. We try to tailor those for the awards. And so for instance, we have, was mentioned an award that we have earlier called the Community Innovation Award, and we want community practice rheumatologists to be weighing in on those. So we are looking for volunteers to help us with these processes for sure.
Great. It sounds like fantastic opportunities for everybody. And any last words about the foundation before we close up today?
We're just grateful for everyone's support, donor support. Like Ted said, we have a lot of opportunity for volunteers. It takes over 100 peer reviewers a year to staff all of our study sections, so we can't do it without volunteer support. We just appreciate everyone on all of our standing committees. I'm just in awe all the time at the support of our volunteers. It's so amazing to me that everyone has families and careers and everything going on in their personal life. And then, the amount of time that they dedicate to our mission, we just are so grateful to everyone. So want to use my time on the podcast to thank everyone for that. And then certainly want to encourage people to check out all of our funding opportunities that we have. And then again, just can't stress enough, please always reach out to the awards team. We're happy to help navigate anything pre-award. And then we didn't mention it, but please post-award, reach out. I know a lot of times people really stress out about reaching out with questions if they're going through something, maternity leave, transferring institutions, any of that. And rather than stressing about it, you can just reach out to us and we'll help you navigate that really quickly. So we're always there for you. Just reach out, foundation@rheumatology.org, and one of us will be there to help. So thank you.
Fantastic. Aaron and Ted, thank you so much for everything you do for the foundation, for those incredible opportunities that are available. And I hope that those listening become even more interested in the foundation, and certainly we'll have links to the foundation's website from acronair.org. Thank you both. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Plenty of opportunities for funding your next project. Thank you all for listening, downloading, subscribing to our show, and for rating us with 5 stars, or however many stars you think we deserve. You can find our show notes for this episode at acronair.org, on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, go write that next grant. And of course, stay healthy.